for the sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires. Such a waste of existence. Spend our life searching for the sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires. Such a waste of existence.
Anxious earth is rising. Anxious earth is rising. I'm so happy.
We spend our life searching for the sense of belonging. Some people die before they fulfill their desires. Such a waste of existence.
Hey, it's the 6:30 news on the Double Tribble channel on Twitch. How is everyone today? This is the Double Tribble channel. I am Ron Smith. I am in Orford, New Hampshire, which is a rural area of Orford, of New Hampshire. Very rural, surrounded by forests and animals and all kinds of stuff. And this is where I stream from. This is where I live. And I stream a lot of different stuff. Today I'm doing news and maybe a little bit of IRL. And usually I do science stuff. Maybe I'll have some science news today. I don't know if I can find something that's sciencey. And technology, I like to do we do movie nights sometimes, sci-fis. So if you like any of that kind of stuff, hit the follow button. Find your way over to Twitch, twitch.tv, and follow Double Tribble. One word, Double Tribble. Yeah. So tonight we're doing news, the 6:30 news, which I started at 6:35. And then we're going to do maybe a little bit of IRL. I don't know. I'll talk about it's harvest time, so that maybe that'll be one of my news stories. I'll call it a human interest news story. They do that all the time on old media. Old media, they do that. They they talk about just a couple of stories that are, real news. that they carefully select, and then they fill in the rest of it with, puppy dogs and who knows what, and stuff that is not news, just to fill up, because on old media they only have a certain amount of time. They have a segment, right? They have half hour, an hour, or whatever it is. And so, in order to cut out the stories that they don't want you to hear, they fill up the rest of it with BS, puppy dogs and and stuff like that, and then they say, oh well, we didn't have enough time to cover that story that we just happen to not want you to know about. So, but I don't do that. I just look and see whatever stories I can find out here, and cover them, talk about them, and then give you my whatever experience I have about usually cynical. I'm pretty much a cynic, but I give you the truth anyway. I try to. So let's start with, I've got some. We'll go to democracy now. Now I know they've got, they didn't do it. They're a little biased, but at least they've got stories in there that we can use for free. They give their stuff away for free to streamers. So if you're a streamer and you want a news source, they got it for free. So let's get into that here. Let's see if I can bring that up here. Okay, there we go. I gotta adjust this a little bit. All right. I think that's got most of it. That got most of it. I think it does. Oh, I'm airing out this room. It was pretty hot today, and I'm got a fan in a window and all that blowing air through here to try to cool it down a little bit. And let me do this. I'll talk about that. So the I'm blowing in all the allergy pollen and all that kind of stuff, so it's affecting me a little bit. I'd say it's not so bad. If it gets too bad, then I'll set up a filter or something here to filter out my little homemade solar filter is not working because the sun went down. So that's it only works when the sun's up. What I should do is plug that into my battery backup, which is kind of charged. Well, it's kind of complicated, but it's kind of solar. Let's see. So anyway, that's what I'm doing, and just a trick for those of you who live who have basements and live in areas where it gets really cold. What I'm doing right now, this is September, and we're having some warm days here. It's usually not too warm, in September, October, but there are some warm days. And when you have warm days, go ahead and collect that heat. Let your house heat up a little bit. And then in the evening, blow that air out through your basement. And what happens is that hot air will go into your basement, and because it's cooler in your basement, that heat will be transferred to the cement or whatever you got in the basement, whatever thermal mass you have in the basement. And then, I'm going to check and then, so that heat will be transferred to the basement, and then after, how many ever days you got of hot days in the fall, you can bring up the temperature of the basement by a few degrees. And then you end up with a partial seasonal heat storage. So your basement temperature will come up a few degrees from that air being blown through it in the fall on the hot days. And then when you get to the winter, then it will give up that heat a little bit and help warm your house for a little bit, maybe a few weeks or something like that. But it's every little bit helps. You're saving energy that way. That's energy. That's heat that you normally would need to take energy to create the heat. So yeah, there are a lot of things. I mean, you know, I think I did a stream on this. Maybe I'll do like a whole stream on how to save energy. You know, I think that would be useful to people. All right, on to the news. So, all right. So this is Democracy Now, and yeah, I think you can see most of it here. The other day I was doing a stream and I ended up cutting off half of the page for some reason. Just not paying attention. So we got. Look at this. This is fucking ridiculous. You got the names of candidates as the titles for the thing. Only 2 candidates though that they put up there. Kind of interesting. All right, so Democracy Now. This is what they have for their top news. They always talk about what's going on in Gaza and Israel and all that kind of stuff. The Middle East war. It's the Middle East war now, right? It's not just Israel. It's Iran, Yemen. A lot of folks are involved in it now. Lebanon, Syria was involved in that. Assassination in Syria. So a lot of people are involved in it. Egypt was kind of mildly annoyed at Israel putting troops down there and stuff, and so a lot of stuff going on. It's all over. You know, it's the Middle East war. It's not just Gaza or not just Israel or whatever. It's the Middle East war now, and the U.S. of course. So maybe it's a world war. We don't know at this point. Maybe it'll become a world war. Probably not. So that's you know, starvation campaign. You know, it just gets worse and worse. So at this point I already know that, you know, what Israel is doing is bad, and it's terrible, and most of the world knows that what they're doing is bad and condemns it. So you know, reading stories that would just make me depressed, it will not be helpful. It won't change my mind. It won't give me any information that will help me analyze the situation any better, I don't think. So I already know that, so I'm not going to go to that story. It would just make me sad, and I'm already sad for that situation, and I don't think it'll give me any more information that will help me solve the situation. Here's a story on erasing history. Yale professor Jason Stanley on why fascists attack education and critical inquiry. Okay, so this is a guy who wrote a book, and he's trying to sell his book. Okay, well, I know there's censorship, but it might be interesting to look at that, because that looks like a feature story. It doesn't look like it's really news, but maybe we'll get to that. If we got time, we'll do that. Yeah, don't worry about that plant in the background there. It's okay. It'll be okay. I'm sure it'll be okay. Borderland: The Line Within. New film on who profits from deportations in border industrial complex. Okay. Yeah, but I'm pretty much already decided on that issue too. So I think people should be free to go where they want. I don't think there should be walls, you know, keeping people from going where they want. You know, if we my last stream I did a couple days ago was on UBI, Universal Basic Income. If we had that, they wouldn't do that. There wouldn't be conflicts. There wouldn't be, you know. It would fix so many problems, you know. But see, they're talking about somebody profiting from that situation, You know, I mean, the real people who profit from that whole situation are, one, the politicians, so they can talk about that issue instead of talking about why they haven't fixed domestic problems, you know, otherwise. And then the other thing is cheap labor. It's cheap labor for businesses. Businesses can, you know, the more labor supply there is, the cheaper it is for businesses. So they can charge, they can pay lower wages that way, generally to everybody, you know. And then you know, and then the racists use that as their reason for not wanting people to come to the country. You know, it's stupid. You know, it's like, okay, this is sarcasm. Okay, sarcasm. It's what the racists say. The racists say, "Oh, look at all those immigrants coming here, and, you know, with their mansions and their yachts," right? You know, it's irony. Those are not the people who are taking your money. Okay, racists, you racist people who don't want brown people coming into the country, they're not the ones taking your money. Okay, the ones who are taking your money are the ones who are stirring you up and getting you upset about the people coming in across the border. Those are the people who are taking your money. Just so you know. People are afraid. Haitians in U.S. Okay, no more sarcasm now. We're back to the well, you know which part was sarcasm there, right? All right, people are afraid. Haitians in U.S. face hate. Okay, it's the same thing. Same story, just different country. I think we covered that, right? You know what's going on there? Well, let me talk a little bit about this. Why people are coming to the country. Okay, back about a decade ago, maybe more, I don't know, Russia really started getting more of a presence in in Venezuela, and they put troops there in when was it, 2020 or something like that? No, earlier than that, maybe 2017 or something like that. I forget when they started putting troops there, and they just have a huge presence there in Venezuela, and I think they're, you know, messing things up. It's not just them. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that you know, doesn't take much to mess up a country or a region. And so Venezuela's all messed up, and people don't want to live there anymore, and because of that, so they move, and they move to other countries, and eventually people end up coming to the United States too. You know, so that's what's going on there. I think Russia has a huge footprint on that, a huge influence on what's going on there. I mean, it's something that has happened periodically, you know, for a long time. And, you know, refugees is not a new thing, but I think Russia is kind of, you know, putting their thumb on the scale there and making it more of a problem for us. And you know, they could be using it for all kinds of other things too. But it's just basically, you know, just the politics there in Venezuela is just all screwed up. And Venezuela is an oil-producing country, so that's the ultimate cause of it, right? Is they've got resources, they have fossil fuels, and the fossil fuel industry just is notorious for that. Any country that produces fossil fuels that they don't have control over and they can't make a profit off of, then they try to fuck up that country. They're doing it to the U.S. right now. People don't realize that. That's a big factor right now that's messing up our country. I mean, a lot of different factors, but that's one of them. One of them is that the U.S. became an oil exporter a few years back. We flipped. We developed the oil shale in the Dakotas, and so we ended up producing more oil than we use. So we're an oil exporter, which means that there's more oil on the market, and when there's more oil on the market, then the price of oil is not as high as when there's less oil. And so everybody else who sells oil, Saudi Arabia and all the rest of them, OPEC countries and non-OPEC countries, they don't like that. And any country that does that, they try to fuck them up. They try to mess it up so that, destabilize that country enough that they can eventually stop that oil from being produced. It happens all over the place. It doesn't have to be a country that's producing oil. It can be a country that just has oil resources, like Afghanistan. Afghanistan has huge oil resources that they've never really been able to tap and exploit. They would be if they ever were able to, if they had a stable enough country there, they would produce that oil and put it on the market, and it would be on the world market. And the other oil producers don't want that. And so basically the U.S. and Russia have been taking turns fucking up that country to keep them so screwed up that they can't produce that oil and keep that oil in the ground. So that's what's going on there. Okay, in Haiti, the Haitians are. I don't know what the cause of that is. I mean, there's just long. I mean, going all the way back centuries, right? They've had just it's messed up. Napoleon invaded there. I mean, Germany was in there. It's just. France, Napoleon, Germany. Germany went in there, and then the U.S. went in there after Germany, and it's been messed up. And it started out as plantations where they had taken slaves from Africa and had them working on plantations there. A long time ago, and then they had a revolution, and the slaves basically fought and won their freedom. But ever since then, other countries have been messing with that country. So I don't know what the latest is, but I'm sure that's a big factor. It's just history, generational trauma, I guess, or whatever you call it. It's gone on for a long time. Let's see. People are afraid Haitians in the U.S. face. Okay, this is just BS. We're in silly season now, or we're approaching silly season for the election. So there's going to be a lot of nonsense stories and nonsense stuff going on. Quoting outrageous things that people say and stuff like that, just to distract people. So we will try to avoid that stuff if we can, and talk about the real issues, the real stories, if we can. Netanyahu wants open-ended war. Yep. I think I said that a couple weeks ago, or last week or week before, when I was talking in the news. I explained why he wants open-ended war. You can look in the VOD for that. Basically, any leader gains power when they have war, and that's what he's doing. He wants war, and he doesn't want to rescue the hostages because of that. And his people have figured that out. His people are protesting now. They figured out that he doesn't want to rescue the hostages, and so they're putting pressure on him now. That's what all those protests were and stuff. I don't know what the latest is there, but I don't know. It'll work. I know what my position is on that, so I don't really need to know any more than that. It'd be nice if they ever get a ceasefire, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Also, there's huge influence from the arms dealers, people who make the weapons. They want war to continue everywhere. They want war everywhere, all the time, as much as possible, so they can sell more weapons. So that's always just kind of like a background pressure, and trying to push for more war everywhere, all the time. War in Sudan. Both sides accused of crimes against humanity as foreign weapons flood the country. Yeah, I think I wanted to look at that one because I don't know that much about that yet still. I read a little bit on it, and they got a lot of oil there too, so, right, that's probably a lot of what's going on. But I just wanted to get more details on that, so maybe we'll look at that. Imprisoned for 50 years, Amnesty calls for Leonard Peltier maybe, I don't know if it's French, I don't know, freedom as he turns 80 behind bars. Okay. I don't know who that is. I don't remember that name. I'm not very good at remembering names, so I gotta look and see. Indigenous leader, an activist who marked his 80th birthday behind bars Thursday after nearly a half century in prison for a crime he says he did not commit. He uses a walker, serious health. Okay. 1975 killing of 2 FBI agents in a shootout. Pine Ridge Reservation. Okay, so that's a little leftover from the revolutions of the 60s or late 60s and early 70s in the U.S. So okay. That was a long time ago. I'm not going to remember that. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Uhuru 3 found guilty of conspiracy, acquitted of forgery charge in landmark trial. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. Let's see what that is. Found members of the Pan-Africanist group African People's Socialist Party guilty of conspiracy with the Russian government to sow discord and interfere in U.S. elections. What? Okay, this is interesting. Federal jury haven't heard anything about this. Huh? Was this in old media? Has old media been covering this? Haven't heard anything about this. Here, let's play their little thing here. They got a video. Let's play that. Let's see if this works.
But I wanted to ask Jennifer to stay with us for 1 minute so I can also ask you about the federal jury verdict in Florida that's found members of the Pan-Africanist group Uhuru 3 guilty of conspiring with the Russian government to sow discord and interfere in U.S. elections. Activists with the African People's Socialist Party facing up to 5 years in federal prison. They're going to appeal. Prosecutors arguing the group's activities were not protected by the First Amendment since they were done, they say, at the direction of a Russian operative. The defense arguing the government aimed to censor the group after members criticized U.S. foreign policy. Jurors acquitted 3 of the activists, known as the Uhuru 3, on more serious charge of acting as agents of a foreign government. Jennifer Jones, the significance of this verdict.
Yes, absolutely. The trial of the Uhuru 3 is proving to be one of the most important First Amendment cases thus far in the 21st century. And though the verdict appears to be inconsistent in some ways, it demonstrates that the First Amendment is a viable defense to such accusations of being foreign agents when exercising First Amendment rights. And it should signal to the government that juries will not so easily leap to convict Americans or anybody else in these political or politicized prosecutions. But at the same time, because the Uhuru 3 was found guilty of the lesser charge, it also shows it isn't necessarily penalty-free, and that conspiracy laws, which are often broad and confusing to juries, are still being used to traffic folks who are not guilty of the underlying offense, yet by conspiracy convictions or on the road to prison or punishment nonetheless. And so it is a bittersweet verdict, which everyone should be aware of, because it remains clear that when covert government repression tactics fail against activists, the government will use the overt means of charges and cages against folks who simply they disagree with.
Jennifer Jones, a part of the Legal Support Committee for the Uhuru 3, and also lead counsel for Leonard Peltier. Coming up, how we do freedom, rising against fascism. We'll speak with V, the playwright formerly known as Eve Ensler, about the day at the Judson Church planned for Saturday. Stay with us.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of sucks. You can't put people in prison for speaking out. It's kind of weird. Yeah, free speech. I don't know. There must be something else in there. You know, who knows what is in the details there. But they were guilty of conspiring with the Russian government to sow discord and interfere in U.S. elections. Yeah, it depends. That's kind of. Yeah, it depends upon what the details are there. Exactly what they were doing. You know, if they're trying to. Yeah, because there's free speech, right? You can't have free. You gotta have free speech, but exactly what were they doing? Yeah, who knows what the details is on that? That would be interesting to find that out, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. It is kind of interesting. It is a First Amendment case for sure. You know, especially if they're citizens, if they're U.S. citizens or U.S. people, U.S. person has a right to free speech when they're in the U.S. So. It would be interesting to see if they went beyond speech. Just like, you know, when Trump was conspiring with the Russians, you know, he asked the Russians to break into Hillary Clinton's computer to get her emails out. So that's crime, right? That's not just speech. That's asking a foreign government to break into your political opponent's computer. That's a crime. You know, that's not just free speech. But so I wonder if there's something else, something involved in this like that, you know, more than just speech. But I don't know. See, we found that out in another story, right, that these guys did on Mexico. Mexico cutting off relations with the U.S. and Canadian embassies, and we didn't know. You know, they said it was because they were passing a law that would allow people to vote for judges, and that. Yeah, I know. Maybe we'll get into that. I've learned a lot more about that story too, so maybe we'll get into that too. That's a separate story altogether. All right, let's see. How we do freedom? Okay, fighting fascism through community. Okay, got a couple stories in here about fighting fascism. Okay, that didn't look like a news thing though. Let's see. Another appalling year of violence against land defenders, as nearly 200 killed worldwide in 2023. Okay, well that's a report. Let's see what they're actually talking about here. At least 196 environmental defenders were killed last year, most of them indigenous or Afro-descendant. The deadliest country was Colombia, where at least 79 land, water, and climate defenders were killed. 2023 is yet another appalling year for those who want to protect their lands and their environment. Violence is likely to intensify as the consequences of the climate crisis become more apparent. Okay. Is this another video that we can watch? How long is this video?
This is Democracy Now! Democracy Now!
26 minutes, 20 minutes, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, it's been 28 minutes on that. Okay. So, mining companies and, yeah, okay. So people trying to mess up the environment, and other people don't want them to do that, and then they're killing each other. Somebody's getting killed over that. On thin ice, Western nations crack down on climate activists with arrests and jail terms. Okay, let's see what this is. As the climate crisis continues to accelerate, oh wait, this is another video. Let's see how long this one is.
By Corditha.
40 minutes, Jesus. All right. Well. As the climate crisis continues to accelerate, wealthy governments in the West are clamping down on climate protests. According to a new report from Climate Rights International. Okay. Does that sound like an objective, neutral third-party source? Yeah, Climate Rights International. All right, so we got, so it's probably a little bit of a bias on that report, I would imagine. But we don't know. I'm just going just by the name of the group, and you know, who knows? So if I had got into that, if I read that report, that's how I'd go into it. I'd go into it. Okay, these people have a particular point of view, and then this is what their report is going to be. How to view that source, you know. Okay, demonstrators around the world are being arrested, charged, prosecuted, and silenced simply for using their rights to free expression. So that's not good. I'm sure they must be doing more than that. They're probably, doing something illegal. They're probably blocking a road or doing, doing something more than just talking, I would imagine. If it's a Western democracy, you get, Okay, one of those prosecutors is activist Joanna Smith, who last year applied washable school finger paint on the exterior glass case enclosing Edgar Degas' renowned wax sculpture. Okay, that's not free speech, man. That's okay. She did something. I don't know. Washable school finger paint on the exterior case. Well, okay. So maybe that's not a big deal. At the National Gallery of Art, to draw attention to the urgency of the climate crisis. She was charged and later sentenced to 2 months in federal prison for her civil disobedience. Yeah, she shouldn't have gone to prison for that. It's not that big of a deal. Petty vandalism. I wouldn't call that a felony. Right? You got a federal prison don't you have to? It has to be a felony to go to federal prison, right? So that seems like petty violence. She didn't actually destroy the artwork. Legal Director, Climate Rights International. Countries who have held themselves up as beacons of rule of law are essentially repressing peaceful protests. Yeah, it's peaceful, but it's not. It's against the law, right? You can't vandalize people's stuff. So if you vandalize their stuff, you're gonna, They're washable. So yeah, I wonder if there was any permanent damage or exactly what happened there. Yeah, that's all she did was put stuff on the glass on the outside. There's an actual damage. I mean, I guess technically it's vandalism. I don't know. Crisis is here now, unfolding. So yeah, I guess the thing is, don't, if you're gonna protest like that, obviously they're gonna you're protesting stuff where there are a lot of wealthy people that don't want you to do that, then you should try to stay within the lines, Stand there and hold a sign, or whatever. But if you actually do vandalism, or if you block people from moving, things like that, that's not legal, right? You're messing with somebody else's rights when you do that. So I don't know how that helps to do that. Sometimes I wonder if there's a lot of that going. I know years and years ago, I used to do animal rights stuff, and there were always. I mean, you could figure out who the provocateurs were in the groups, who were working for the other side, or maybe even FBI plants or whatever. You could tell who they were, and they would always try to get you to do something illegal. They'd say, "Hey, let's go do this. Let's go slash these tires. Let's go do this, or let's go trespass over here and do this," or they're provocateurs. They try to get the activists to do stuff illegal like that, and then the activists do that illegal thing, and then they arrest them, and they give them a record and mess them up, and make it more difficult for them to help the movement, So that's something you just have to be aware of, that there are folks, provocateurs out there that are in those groups all the time, that are trying to encourage people to do illegal stuff so that they can get them arrested, And this whole idea of doing civil disobedience specifically to get arrested, I don't understand what point that serves, other than, it's just, it creates legal problems for the people who get arrested, and most of the time, I mean, especially nowadays, back when I did it, 30 years ago or something like that, old media was not controlled as much as it is now, and if there was a protest, they'd cover it. They'd cover a protest, and they'd report on it and all that. It was news, so they reported it. Now they don't bother. If you go out there, if a bunch of people go out and do some civil disobedience somewhere and get arrested, then they'll sit there, they'll get arrested, they'll go and they'll get fingerprinted and blah blah blah, lose their privacy, lose their, have a record, an arrest record, and maybe have to spend a bunch of money on legal bills and blah blah blah. But old media won't report on it. They won't even bother reporting on it anymore. So why do that? There's no point in it. If you want to get the message out to a lot of people, stand on a corner with signs, a busy corner with a lot of traffic and stuff like that, with clear signs that clearly state what you're protesting, and not using coded words or words that are familiar to you, but use words that are familiar to people who don't know anything about what you're doing, and state what you're doing clearly, in easy phrases and stuff like that. And you'll get the word out to a lot of people for free, and you won't, get arrested, and that's the way to do it. Because that in most democracies, certainly in the United States, that's absolutely protected. You can assemble, you can hold a sign, you can have free speech, you can say stuff, but you can't block. You can't block people from moving. You can't, do things like that. You can't destroy property and all that. So, and you can get the message out just as well by holding the sign in the corner. A small group of people on a busy street. So why not just do that? So there's no need to break the law. So, yeah, you won't get arrested. You won't get arrested and get jail terms. And figure out who in your group is instigating that too. If there's somebody in your group who's doing that, who's trying to get people to break the law and get them arrested, then guess what? Guess who that is? Good chance it's a provocateur from the FBI or from some, from the fossil fuel industry or something. And that's trying to mess up your group. Okay. By the Fire We Carry, Cherokee author Rebecca Nagel on the ongoing fight for tribal sovereignty. Okay, let's see what that's about. These are not really new, ongoing, right? So these are not, these are more feature stories, but that's okay. We'll look at some of them, see how long this video is.
This is Democracy Now!
An hour. I'm not going to watch that. All right. We're joined by award-winning Cherokee writer and journalist Rebecca Nagel. Hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Whose new book, By the Fire We Carry, the generations long fight for justice on native land. God, I can't believe that's still going on, man. It's just how come that hasn't been fixed? Has just been released by taking a look at the more than a century-long fight for tribal sovereignty in eastern Oklahoma. She investigates the development of future tribal law since the beginning of colonial relations between indigenous peoples and European settlers, Trail of Tears, War on Terror. Okay, so it's just an in-depth thing. So I guess I don't know if there's any cliff notes we can pull out of this. I don't know. That would be kind of hard. I think I'd have to sit through this entire thing. We can look at the questions maybe. Let's see if there are any questions there. Okay. Tell us about your book. Okay, it's a Supreme Court decision. Okay, so the Supreme Court decision. Okay. McGirt versus Oklahoma, which was a Supreme Court decision in 2020 that resulted in the largest restoration of tribal land in U.S. history. Okay, so that's good. Okay, she asked, and talk about the Cherokee Nation leader, Major Ridge. Okay, I don't know who that is. I don't know if it's important to know who he is. Probably is, but I don't know. Okay. So, probably a lot of details in there. But not today. Okay. And here's one of the silly stories down there at the bottom, which we won't even look at. Headlines. Okay. Netanyahu expands war aims to include return of Israelis displaced by fighting with Lebanon. Israel assaults have killed 11,000. Yeah, they're really, man, they're just they're like a one-note thing here. They're everything is about that particular story for them. That's their big deal. UN Special Rapporteur. I don't know what that word is. Should I look at it? Rapporteur. Okay, so you gotta look up that word. P-U-R. All right, let's go here. Is this working? Okay, Google. All right. Tour. Meaning, here we go. A person appointed by an organization to report on the proceedings of its meetings. Okay. Now we know what that word means. I'll probably forget it. I'm getting too old to remember these things now. So I'll probably forget that word eventually. Okay, so the UN special guy who was supposed to report on something blasts Western nations for supporting Israel's assault on Gaza. Okay. Well, we already know. We already know what they're doing is wrong. And here's another guy saying that it's wrong. Almost everybody. Everybody but the U.S. pretty much. And I don't know how many countries are supporting Israel at this point besides U.S.? That's it, isn't it? U.S. and U.S.'s lackeys, you know. People who will get foreign aid from the U.S. if they say what the U.S. tells them to say. Okay, we don't care about that story. Prosecutors allege gunmen spent 12 hours lying in wait. Okay, we don't care about that. Ohio orders daily bomb sweeps in Springfield schools. Okay. I don't think we need any more than that. You know, it's like these stories, you know, I mean, I guess if you were, even if you were unsure of where you stood on Haitian refugees, this story is not gonna do anything to help you decide that or learn anything about it. I can tell right now. It's just like, you know, is it going to tell you about what's going on in Haiti and why the people are leaving and, you know, what their stories are and, you know, maybe I don't know, maybe it gets into that. Probably not, though. I mean, I'm sure this story we had down here probably gets into it, right? Where was it? There's a Haiti story in here somewhere. There it is, Haitian. But this, see, the story is about hate groups against them and about what a politician, you know, stupid ass thing that a politician said or whatever, you know. Is it going to get into the details about what's going on in Haiti? Why are the gangs down there? Why are the gangs fighting? Are they really gangs? You know, are they just being called gangs, or are they, you know, is it a political uprising? You know, what is going on? All this bullshit here, just talking about what a stupid politician said about it, doesn't answer those questions. It just distracts, you know. Putin boosts active duty troops, warns NATO over Ukraine's long-range attacks. Okay, boosts active duty troop. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of a, yes, that's an ongoing thing, right? Putin invaded Ukraine and thought he would take it pretty quickly, and it's been over a year and killed a lot of people, killed a lot of Russians, and a lot of Russians don't want to go to that war. It's kind of like their Vietnam. I don't know if you guys remember Vietnam. Vietnam was like that. There was a big war. The war in Vietnam was not a popular war. In the beginning, you know, people didn't know, and then maybe it was 50-50, but towards the end it was not popular because people kept dying, you know. Young people's sons were being sent over there and killed, and, you know. So that's what's happening here. But it's sons and daughters now, right? Because now women get drafted too. So that's one of the things that's the pressure on Putin, right? That he's, you know, the longer the war goes on, people don't want to spend the money. They don't want to have Russian citizens getting killed. You know, it's pressure on him to try to resolve the issue. Eventually it'll resolve. But it's, you know, it's not going to be Putin signing a piece of paper, you know, cross his heart, hope to die, he won't do something, you know. That's not going to happen, you know. Nobody, Ukraine would be idiots to accept that, you know. Oh, okay, Putin signed a paper, said he isn't going to do this, all's good now. No, that's not going to happen. It's got to, you know, somebody's going to win the war, or Putin's going to have to give up. Okay, Taliban suspends UN-led polio vaccine campaign. Okay, I don't know. I don't think I'm interested in that. That's Afghanistan, right? The big issue. We know what the 30,000-foot thing is, what's going on there. I just talked about that. Man sets himself on fire near Boston's Israeli consulate to protest Gaza genocide. Oh, man. Yeah, here's a guy set himself on fire. I don't know if it didn't say if he died or not, but geez, you know. He did that, and it's like the seventh story in the list here, you know. I don't know what he thought would happen there, setting himself on fire, you know. That in the past that has started revolutions, it started all kinds of stuff, but now it doesn't, you know. Here's a progressive news outlet, and they buried it in their thing here. Old media, other old media is not even going to mention it, so why did that guy do that, you know? He probably thought it would get attention. I don't know. Probably mentally ill or something. Where are we at here? All right. Supporting Israel, Trump. Gunman, Springfield. Okay, there it is. Okay, a New York PD officer shoots and hospitalizes 4 people over subway fare evasion. What? Shoots and hospitalizes 4 people. Why would he shoot somebody over that? Okay. That's almost like clickbait, you know. I would want to go in there and find out what's going on, but I don't think it's going to help me be a good citizen to know that, to know what the details are of that. You know what I mean? Some cops are idiots, you know. Most of them are probably good, but a lot of them aren't. And apparently this guy, if you believe what this headline says, he screwed up big time. All right, give people a choice. Atlantans disrupt city council meeting to demand referendum on Cop City. Okay, another cop story. There's a larger thing on that, on the whole cop thing. You want to hear that? You want to hear about that? What's going on there? Okay, I'll tell you. My opinion. This is opinion, analysis, whatever. Whenever you know we're on the verge of a revolution, right? It's getting pretty close. So the people in charge don't want that. They don't want a revolution. They want to stop it. They don't want to be successful. Blah blah blah. Right. A huge major tactic used by the people in power to keep the people in check and to keep them from doing revolutions is to divide people. They divide them by race. They divide them by, you know, arbitrary political labels. They, you know, anything they can find to divide people, to keep people from uniting and taking down their oppressors. So if there is a revolution, it's good for the people who are the revolutionaries to have the police on their side. You know, the police are victims of this whole thing too, right? The police are victims of oppression. And so what the people in power do is they try to stir up and get the police and the populations fighting against each other, rather than working together, being on the same side, fighting the overall oppressors who are, you know, so this whole idea of, yeah, they're bad cops, they do shitty stuff and all that, you know, they a lot of bad cops, but a lot of good cops too, and if you want to have a successful revolution, get the cops on your side. That's the bottom line, okay? So just think about that. Suspect in custody. After another apparent assassination attempt, okay, I don't care about that. Biden admin okays more weapons for Israel. Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. More weapons for Israel as death toll of Gaza. See, now this is important, right? These are representatives, people you can vote for or vote against. You going to vote for the incumbents after they've done this? Let's see. U.S. State Department has approved, or what's the date on this story here? September 16th. U.S. State Department has approved a new $165 million arms deal for Israel to help fund heavy-duty tank trailers. What the hell? This comes as the official death toll from Israel's war in Gaza has topped 41,200. On Saturday, an Israeli airstrike on a house in Gaza City killed 11 Palestinians, including 4 children. Al Jazeera reports Israel also killed at least 10 Palestinians in a strike on a home at a refugee camp. Jesus. So, yeah. This is just amazing, man. Biden is not going to be president again because of this. This is why he's not being president. It's because the main reason, I think, is because his own party does not support him, because he supports sending weapons to help Israel do genocide in Gaza, you know. And they're still doing it. So why would you vote for Harris? Why would you vote for anyone in Congress who is an incumbent at this point? Who gives a fuck what their party is? This isn't about parties. This isn't about, you know, abortion or any other issue. You know, this is about our country. Our representatives are voting for things to kill people, kill innocent citizens, thousands of them. So why on earth would you ever vote for an incumbent? When you go into the polling place and you look down there and you see the incumbent and the other guy, vote for the other guy. Even if it's, you know, even if they say outrageous things, even if they don't like trans people, whatever it is, you know, don't vote for the incumbent, you know. And if you can't, if you just absolutely cannot stand to vote for the Republican, write somebody's name in there. You know, leave it blank. You know, don't vote for the fucking incumbents, you know. Don't let old media mess with your brain, you know, and get you thinking about things that you know are less important, that may be important, but damn, they're killing people. They're killing thousands, tens of thousands of people. The incumbents are doing that. And it doesn't matter what they say. Even if an incumbent is speaking out against this, it's happening. They're in the Congress, it's happening. And, even if they can negotiate political cover on this, they're an incumbent. They're responsible. So don't vote for them. Don't vote for the incumbent. No matter who they are. If they're Republican, Democrat, whatever. Don't vote for the incumbent. Okay, Israeli snipers. Okay, this is more killing. Houthi launched missile strikes central Israel. No casualties reported. So that's Yemen. Which is kind of... So that's from Yemen, Now I don't know if the let me see if the missile came from Yemen. Let's take a look at this, see what it says. Just so we know. I mean, this is kind of a detail, but it's okay. It's a country that isn't just Israel and Gaza and Palestine. Right? This is another country, on the other side of the Arab Peninsula. Let's see here. Okay, Israel is vowing to retaliate after Houthi fighters from Yemen fired a missile. Now, did they fire it from Yemen, or were the fighters from Yemen and fired it from some other place? They don't say. Okay, let me show you where Yemen is here. If I can find that. I'm going to put my mug back up here so we can get this figured out. Streams. Alright, let's see if I can find... Oh yes, that's probably downloaded something. Okay. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how to do this with this. This is going to take a second here, folks, as I try to figure this out. On OBS, I got to bring this up. I did it before, but I don't remember how I did it, so I got to do it again. Media source. Here we go. Source. Media source. All media files. Okay, so media to them means doesn't mean what I thought it meant. Yes, delete that. So right now I'm going through OBS trying to figure out how to get a fucking picture of a map up here. And OBS is just insane, I just have a map in a PG, some image file format, and I just want to show it. Here we go, image. Okay, they got one here for image. That ought to work. All right, let's see here, image. Nope. Political. Jesus, why is that not? Why would they not have the map? Okay, so now I tried to get the image, but it apparently does not want the format that I have the image stored in. Let's see, I've got it stored in a PNG file. Oh God. Okay, the PNG is in uppercase. And so it doesn't know that, doesn't know to get that. That's what it looks like. Let's see here, let me try this again. All right, I'm going to rename my file and make the .png lowercase. Let's see if that's going to fix it. PNG. All right. Now I'll go back to OBS. That was it. So it's a bug in OBS. OBS has a bug where if the extension on the image file is not in lowercase, it can't find the image file. Bad OBS. Thank God I was able to troubleshoot that as fast as I did. Okay, transition, there we go. Oh, that didn't work. Let me transition back here, if I can fix that. Okay. All right. That's good enough, I guess. All right, so Israel's in here somewhere. You see my little pointer? No, you can't see my pointer even. Why can't you see my pointer? Oh, jeez. All right. Oh, I know what I need to do. Well, anyway, how am I going to point this out here? Ay, ay, ay. All right. I can't use the pointer. Holy criminy. All right, let's try something else. Sorry about this, folks, but you know. All right, let me just try. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this damn picture in my image viewer program. Then I'm going to try to open up the image viewer as a window in OBS and see if that works. It doesn't appear that it wants to do that. Yeah. But I'll keep trying. There it is. Okay. There. Damn it. All right, we got it. Okay. So now, I will go here. Now do you see my pointer? Pointing at Israel here. There it is. Okay. So now I'll zoom in. This is important. This is important because I want to show you. When they mention a country, what's going on? Who's doing what? This is actually a pretty big area. This is hundreds of miles here. Along here. Several hundred miles. So here's Israel, right? I think everybody knows where Israel is, right? In Palestine, Gaza isn't even barely registering on this map. It's right in the corner there. And so the Houthis are down here in Yemen. This is Yemen. This is Saudi Arabia. Okay, this is the Arabian Peninsula here. So there's Yemen, that's Oman and UAE and Qatar and several little countries. And this is Yemen. And so they're saying that there's some Houthis here who are fighting for their independence or whatever here in Yemen. They don't like what Israel's doing to Palestine, so they want to fight them. And you probably heard stories before of them firing on ships, because that's kind of a handy target for them. Ships come through here, through the Red Sea and stuff, and so they're close enough that they can fire on them. But it looks like they fired a missile from here. If this is where they fired it from, I don't know. The story doesn't say. But if it's true, then they fired the missile from here in Yemen all the way over the hundreds of miles over and hit Israel. So that's something. All right. I don't know if that was worth doing all that. We're taking a lot of time trying to figure out how to put that the damn map up there. All right. No casualties reported. Okay, so that's what's going on there. All right. All right, so we're almost done here. Okay. Okay. Biden and Harris have not contacted the family. Okay, don't care. Ohio's Haitian community under attack. Trump. Okay, don't care about Trump. Okay. So, those were some stories. And what we were going to do, we were going to follow up on a couple of them, right? Okay, that one we already did. We looked at. That one we already looked at. War in Sudan. Okay, let's see if we, I wanted to learn more about this. Let's see how long the little video is.
This
here.
is Democracy Now!
All right, let's watch this. Why not? I want to learn more about this, so let's watch this. Listen to it on the headphones, and we'll see what's going on there.
From New York, this is Democracy Now!
Sudan's conflict has
You hear
so far
that?
killed more than 20,000 people. This is an underestimate, by the way. Displaced over 10 million people inside the country and forced another 2 million to flee to neighboring countries. This is the largest internal displacement of people in the world today.
A UN fact-finding mission reports harrowing human rights violations by both sides in Sudan's brutal civil war. We'll look at a new investigative report uncovering gruesome details and footage of an ethnically motivated massacre of civilians by rapid support forces in North Darfur. And we'll speak with Human Rights Watch about their new report calling for an expanded arms embargo on Sudan. Then Indigenous leader Leonard Peltier turned 80 years old this week in prison after nearly a half-century behind bars for a crime he says he did not commit.
They wouldn't allow me to put up a defense and manufactured evidence, manufactured witnesses, tortured witnesses. The list just goes on.
We'll speak with Leonard Peltier's legal defense team and with the president of the Indigenous-led NDN Collective. Then, how we do freedom, rising against fascism.
It's a day-long education, activation on what is fascism and what we do to stop it.
We'll speak with V, the playwright formerly known as Eve Ensler. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli strikes have killed at least 40 people across Gaza today, as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is once again calling for an immediate ceasefire following Israel's massacre at the UN-run Al-Jayuni school, which killed at least 18 people Wednesday, including 6 UN workers, the deadliest day in UNRWA's history. The World Health Organization said Thursday it had evacuated about 100 people.
All right, this looks like it's covering a lot of different
stories,
stories, so let me just find it.
A major victory for abortion rights. North Dakota no longer has any abortion clinics after the overturning of Roe v. Wade triggered a strike of a foreign government conspiracy against 4 Democratic lawmakers Thursday unveiled humanity committed during the politically. I'm Amy Goodman. We begin today's show in Sudan, where a UN fact-finding mission has reported harrowing human rights violations, many of which amount to war crimes committed by both the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Members of the UN mission described indiscriminate attacks by the warring parties on civilians, schools, hospitals, water and power supplies. Civilians have also been subjected to torture, arbitrary detention, and gruesome sexual violence by both sides.
In the context of the current conflict, civilians, an overwhelming majority of whom are women and children, women and girls, were and continue to be targeted with sexual violence, in particular rape, gang rape by both parties to the conflict. Members of the RSF, in particular, have perpetrated sexual violence on a large scale in the context of attacks on cities in Darfur region and the greater Khartoum area.
Sudan's military and the RSF rejected calls by the UN experts to deploy an international force to protect civilians from the devastating war that erupted in April of 2023, so far killing more than 20,000 people, displacing some 13 million from their homes. This is the World Health Organization's chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, speaking from Port Sudan.
Sudanese are suffering through a perfect storm of crisis. Over 500 days of conflict, the largest level of displacement in the world, famine in some parts and risk of this in others. 25.6 million people, over half of Sudan's population, are expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity.
After over 16 months of fighting, much of Sudan's healthcare system has also collapsed, leading to the outbreak of disease, including cholera. Massive floods and torrential rains in recent weeks have compounded the catastrophe, with dozens of reported deaths, the further destruction of vital infrastructure, and more disruptions to the delivery of life-saving humanitarian aid. For more, we're joined by two guests. Yusra Abahir is Africa correspondent at Sky News. Her latest piece, titled Sudan War, Massacre on the Streets, part of a joint investigation with Lighthouse Reports, The Washington Post, and Le Monde, uncovering gruesome details of footage of the June 2023 ethnically motivated massacre of civilians by Rapid Support Forces in North Darfur's town of Khartoum. Their investigations, the first time visual evidence has emerged showing fighters
Okay, if they're going to show gruesome stuff, I think I'm going to have to do a content warning. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this, and then we're going to let you know if there's anything bad in it. Unfortunately, they don't have a speed control on here that I can see anywhere. So I gotta watch this at regular speed here to try to figure out if there's anything in there. I know what I'm going to do. Okay, so here's what they're this is Egypt here, and this is Sudan here. And this is South Sudan. Hang on just a second here. So Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan. So this is where the fighting is going on in this country here. So I'm watching this Democracy Now! Video, just scanning it really quickly to see if there's anything that's against Twitch TOS in this video that I can see. And if it's Twitch safe, then I'll play it for you guys. Or if there's any problems with it, then I'll try to skip over those parts of whatever it is. But I gotta watch the whole thing. I gotta sit here and watch this whole frickin' thing first before I do that. Does that work? Did I do that right? Yeah, this is Egypt. Yeah, this is Egypt. This is Sudan, and this is South Sudan. I was off on my pointer. My pointer was off there. Sorry about that. This is Egypt. This is Sudan, and this is South Sudan. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm reviewing this video here off stream to make sure there isn't anything in it that's TOS for Twitch, because Twitch doesn't allow certain things. They don't allow certain types of gory depictions and stuff. So I don't even know if I understand the TOS enough to do that, but I'll just keep. I read today that it wasn't on Twitch, but somewhere another source said that Twitch doesn't allow bare feet on streams, and there's some bare feet in this video. So I don't know. I'm assuming that was bullshit. If that's true, I'll switch platforms. I think if they don't allow bare feet, because that's kind of stupid. Somebody let me know if Twitch prohibits bare feet on their streams. I can't believe that's true. Yeah, looking at this video, it looks like this Democracy Now! People have blurred out stuff, the gruesome stuff, on their own video. So maybe it's okay to play this on Twitch. I don't know. We'll see. is very frustrating that I can only play this at normal speed, that I can't speed this up to 2x or 3x or whatever and watch it on their player here. Well, they put a map up on theirs too. They're showing this Sudan here. They showed up a picture of it, a map of it on their video, and down here in the bottom part of Sudan it was all in red, so they had it highlighted. So I guess that's where all the fighting is, or something, or where the refugees are. I don't know. We'll play the video in a little bit. This is actually pretty long news story. So yeah, that's Sudan. And that's South Sudan. South Sudan got their independence from Sudan a few years back. Whoops, I missed something here. There were some pictures that. Okay, they're still going on here with this video. I haven't seen anything that's I think would be against Twitch TOS. They had some bodies and stuff, but they had them blurred out, so I think that's okay on Twitch. Especially like a news thing, you know. I think Twitch has exceptions for news stories and stuff. I think I remember reading somewhere that Twitch doesn't even allow like people to show nudity if it's blurred out. I remember reading something about that, so I don't know if that's true or not, or if I'm remembering that correctly. But that's kind of weird that they wouldn't even. I mean, if you blurred it out, if you blur out the nudity. Maybe they're afraid people wouldn't blur it out enough or something. I don't know. Yeah, the story goes on and on and on and on, but it looks like they've got a lot of details here. I can't hear the audio. I'm not listening to the audio. I'm just looking at the video to make sure there's nothing that Twitch would object to. Whoops. Wait, that kind of flashed up kind of quick here. Let's see. Yeah, no, this is kind of boring. Sorry. This is the only way I can figure out how to do this. I could have done it before the show, before the stream, but I didn't know I was going to go down this rabbit hole. So, god damn, they flashed that up there just for a second, and I'm trying to stop it enough to look at it. They got something here. They're flashing on the screen for like half a second. Okay. Nothing bad there. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about Sudan, so this should be interesting listening to this video to see what it, see if they have any insight on it. It's going to be biased, you know. Democracy Now! Is kind of biased in their reporting, but and they leave some stuff out sometimes, but it's more than what I know now. So they're talking a lot about, it looks like they're talking about like the specific attacks and, you know, details like that, atrocities, and, you know, which always happens when these wars break out. They end up talking about, you know, specific attacks and tactics and, you know, horrible things about people, you know, children being killed or hospitals getting bombed or whatever, but they don't. A lot of outlets, particularly old media, will not explain the overall thing. You know, why are they? You know, who's at war? Who's fighting who? Why are they fighting? You know, all that. And if they do, they usually get it wrong anyway. So. Well, this whole thing looks like it's going to take about close to 20 minutes. Oh, damn. Until after 8 o'clock. Yeah, they're showing people in bare feet here, so I hope I don't get banned for showing bare feet. I don't think that's true. I can't believe that's true. Why would they have a rule like that? All right. So they have a couple guests on this thing. So this is a good. If you're probably watching this on the VOD anyway. So if you're watching it on the VOD, just go ahead and skip ahead until I actually play the video. You know, well, you're probably doing that anyway, right? You figured that out by now. So, unfortunately, the way they do their stories here. Okay, I guess that's it. No, they're still showing pictures. Yeah, the way they do their stories is they got talking heads for a while, and then they kind of put, you know, splatter in at random places within the talking heads video, you know, videos of violence and stuff like that. And so it's not something where I can just click through, you know, and try to. I have to watch the whole thing, you know. You gotta watch the whole thing in real time, in 1x speed, which sucks. Takes a long time. Alright, so okay, it looks like they've got. Alright, so let's see here. Alright.
Sudan, where a UN fact-finding mission has reported harrowing human rights violations, many of which amount to war crimes committed by both the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Members of the UN mission described indiscriminate attacks by the warring parties on civilians, schools, hospitals, water and power supplies. Civilians have also been subjected to torture, arbitrary detention, and gruesome sexual violence by both sides.
In the context of the current conflict, civilians, an overwhelming majority of whom are women and children, women and girls, were and continue to be targeted with sexual violence, in particular rape, gang rape, by both parties to the conflict. Members of the RSF, in particular, have perpetrated sexual violence on a large scale in the context of attacks on cities in Darfur region and the greater Khartoum area.
Sudan's military and the RSF rejected calls by the UN experts to deploy an international force to protect civilians from the devastating war that erupted in April of 2023, so far killing more than 20,000 people, displacing some 13 million from their homes. This is the World Health Organization's chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, speaking from Port Sudan.
Sudanese are suffering through a perfect storm of crisis. Over 500 days of conflict, the largest level of displacement in the world, famine in some parts and risk of this in others. 25.6 million people, over half of Sudanese population, are expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity.
After over 16 months of fighting, much of Sudan's healthcare system has also collapsed, leading to the outbreak of disease, including cholera. Massive floods and torrential rains in recent weeks have compounded the catastrophe, with dozens of reported deaths, the further destruction of vital infrastructure, and more disruptions to the delivery of life-saving humanitarian aid. For more, we're joined by two guests. Yusra Abahir is Africa correspondent at Sky News. Her latest piece, titled Sudan War, Massacre on the Streets, part of a joint investigation with Lighthouse Reports, The Washington Post, and Le Monde, uncovering gruesome details of footage of the June 2023 ethnically motivated massacre of civilians by Rapid Support Forces in North Darfur's town of Khartoum. Their investigations, the first time visual evidence has emerged showing fighters linked with the RSF directly involved in the extrajudicial killings of unarmed civilians. She's joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. And in Paris, we're joined by Jean-Baptiste Galopin, senior crisis, conflict, and arms researcher at Human Rights Watch, which has just released a new report titled Fanning the Flames, Sudanese Warring Parties, Access to New Foreign-Made Weapons and Equipment. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Let's go to Yusra first in Nairobi, Kenya. Talk about what's happening in your home country of Sudan right now, what people should understand about the depth of this catastrophe.
Well, Amy, I think everyone can remember the genocide in the early 2000s, 2003 genocide in Darfur, where there was outcry, outrage around inhumanity that was being seen in the Darfur region, the suppression of people's voices that was happening in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. There was an outcry and a rejection of the violence happening there. I was in school in Sudan at the time, and though the military regime had completely censored press from speaking on the conflict in Darfur in 2003, we heard from it from outside. We heard about it from the international community, because the noise about it was so difficult to ignore, even in the seat of power in Khartoum. Now it's the opposite. Now it is complete apathy and neglect. The global community is essentially turning away 20 years on, when we have similar atrocities happening in the Darfur region and spreading to the country. I got a message earlier from a source who helped us on the investigation. He asked me if the Western world was complicit, if they're in on it, because he himself is shocked to see that no one seems to care, that he feels that there's an aiding and abetting of the RSF through allies of the West, like the UAE. And there just seems to be a lot of confusion and despair about why the world doesn't seem to be taking this seriously.
Yusra, I wanted to turn to that joint investigation you just did between Sky News, Lighthouse Reports, Washington Post, and the French paper Le Monde, which uncovers these gruesome details and footage of the June 2023 ethnically motivated massacre of civilians by Rapid Support Forces in North Darfur's town of Khartoum. The investigation marking the first time visual evidence has emerged showing fighters linked with RSF directly involved in the extrajudicial killing of unarmed civilians. This is a clip of your video report.
Safia's husband was one of the soldiers killed in the battle, but civilian men in her family were targeted too.
My 3 cousins and 2 of my brothers were stood up and shot dead. My father would have been killed too if he hadn't fled. We had to bury my brothers in the yard with some dirt and leave them behind.
Residents say they'd never seen anything like it, even compared to the 2003 conflict in Darfur, designated as genocide.
This time, these guys conquer the army, and then they come for the civilians. If you have a car, they'll take it. They'll take anything in your home. If you have pretty sisters, they'll rape them.
You can see the rest of this investigation on Sky News website, news.sky.com. Yusra Al-Bagir, it was your voice that we heard there. You were the correspondent on this investigation. What shocked you most? This was a massacre that took place a year ago, but how much has things changed?
Well, we were on the border with West Darfur when the war started, and we were seeing people come out of West Darfur with bullets in them, children. I remember a 3-year-old having a bullet in his hip, and they were being targeted by the Arab militias that the RSF is linked to, based solely on their ethnicity. A couple of days later, this massacre that we reported on recently happened, and it was a town-wide massacre that spread also to the displacement camp, Kasab, which was actually built to house persecuted communities from the Darfur genocide in the early 2000s. So we had already seen the violence play out, and we saw it live. But what shocked me, Amy, was the videos, the visual evidence that we put forward in the report that Lighthouse shared with us that kind of spurred on this investigation, where these tribal militiamen are celebrating over lifeless bodies of unarmed civilians, saying victory to the Arabs. They're cheering on their violence. We spent a lot of time tracking down the victims that we see in those videos, tracking down their people closest to them to understand who they were, what their relation was with the RSF, why they were being targeted in this way. And they were simply unarmed civilians. We were even told repetitively they don't have any history of altercation. One of them was a university student. One of them was a cattle herder. One of them was only 14 years old. They were found in a door-to-door hunt of civilian men of fighting age from non-Arab tribes. So to see this happen very early on, I started to feel like it was a template for the massacres and the atrocities that we saw in the months that followed. Because what happened in that town was that the army garrison was taken over by the RSF, and then they kind of sanctioned this rampage, this massacre on the town. It was the second garrison to fall in Darfur after the RSF kind of took over Khartoum. The first one in Darfur, Kabkabiya, there was very little fight. And this garrison is being credibly accused of being sold out to the army. Sources told us that senior commanders colluded with the RSF before the attack. And then in the months that followed, we see a similar pattern. An abrupt withdrawal from army garrisons. The RSF takes over towns and then starts to carry out atrocities against civilians. And that is terrifying. It's terrifying because the civilians there are essentially defenseless. The army can't be trusted to protect civilians, and the RSF is currently in control of 4 out of 5 of states in Darfur.
I want to bring Jean-Baptiste Galopin into this conversation, senior researcher at Human Rights Watch. If you can tell us more about fanning the flames, Sudanese warring parties' access to new foreign-made weapons and equipment, where are all these weapons coming from that are killing so many Sudanese civilians?
Good morning, Amy. Thanks for having me. So, we at Human Rights Watch, we monitor social media for evidence of crimes. And over the past year, we were shocked to see the growing number of apparently new weapons that the warring parties are using in the conflict, weapons that are kind of very sophisticated pieces of modern equipment and made abroad. So we analyzed this content and identified the equipment and published this report, which presents the equipment that we believe was newly acquired. That includes armed drones, different types of such drones, truck-mounted multi-barrel rocket launcher systems, explosive munitions, drone jammers, as well as anti-tank guided missiles. And these weapons were made in countries such as Serbia, Russia, China, the UAE, and Iran. And both sides are using them. So we're very concerned that in the context of widespread atrocities being carried out in Sudan by both sides, these weapons are very likely to be used to commit human rights violations and war crimes. And we've actually found evidence in this report of drones used by the military being used to attack apparent civilians in the Khartoum area.
And again, name the countries where the weapons are coming from.
So this includes Serbia, Russia, China, Iran, the UAE. And so we found, for instance, that the Sudanese military is using the Mohajer 6 drone, which is really a latest generation drone manufactured by the Iranian Ministry of Defense. We found the RSF using attack drones that we couldn't identify, but that are used with in tandem with thermobaric munitions that weapon crates show were first purchased by the United Arab Emirates from Serbia before finding their way to the RSF. And these weapons are used across the country, including in Darfur, but also in the Khartoum area, as well as Kordofan. And so that really illustrates that the existing arms embargo on Darfur, which was established in 2004 in the context of the Darfur conflict at the time, is really inadequate in light of the changed situation in the country. As you mentioned, today the majority of Sudan's federal states are seeing violence, and there is very little enforcement of this embargo. So the UN Security Council a few days ago voted to renew the embargo, but we actually are calling for the Security Council to expand it to the whole of Sudan to ensure these weapons, to curb the flow of weapons and protect civilians.
Can I ask Yusra, why are these countries involved with what's going on in Sudan right now? This humanitarian catastrophe. Serbia, China, Russia, UAE.
I mean, Sudan it's literally a gold mine, Amy. I mean, we've got massive gold mines. We've got uranium deposits. We've got an 800-kilometer Red Sea coastline. We're also a corridor country, and we are the third largest country in Africa. I think the instability in Sudan has been exploited by international powers for a long time. But now it really is kind of up for the taking. I mean, Omar al-Bashir, the former military dictator, made his money selling Sudan for parts. He'd already had a deal with Russia before he was ousted in the 2019 revolution. He already had deals with the UAE and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia on kind of corrupt hundreds of years of leases on arable land. He'd kind of set the precedent for making money, making Sudan a lucrative business for kleptocrats. And so once he was ousted, the power vacuum was quickly filled with his henchmen, with his inspector general, who's now the army chief, and his opponent, Hemeti, the head of the RSF, was al-Bashir's favorite militiaman. He led the counterinsurgency in Darfur in the early 2000s as the head of a Janjaweed militia. So these guys have seen what al-Bashir has managed to do with the country, and they're cashing in on it. And all of these countries that are involved are definitely exploiting the vulnerability, and some of them had an active hand in suppressing the protests in 2019. I mean, both the UAE and Russia have been credibly accused of helping the government at the time to track down protesters, to lobby online propaganda campaigns, especially Russia. And this is just a continuation of that, I think.
Well, I want to thank you both for being with us. Of course, we'll continue to follow the story. Sky News Africa correspondent Yusra Al-Bahir speaking to us from Nairobi, Kenya, a Sudanese journalist, and Jean-Baptiste Galopin, senior crisis, conflict and arms researcher at Human Rights Watch, speaking to us from Paris, France. We'll link to your reports at Sky News and to the Human Rights Watch investigation. This is Democracy Now! When we come back, Leonard Peltier turns 80 years old in prison. He's been there for half a century. Stay with us.
Okay, so that was the video that they had for that. And they got into a lot of detail there. Yeah, and they named the names of countries that were involved in it, some of the motivating things and all that kind of stuff. So, you know a little bit about that. I'd like to learn more about RSF, see what that's about. I don't know if that, you know, understanding the details, I don't know if that's important or not. It probably is. We could learn about that, but it sounds like they, the reason they're fighting is because of the natural resources, the oil, and they didn't mention oil, but it's a big. They have a lot of oil there, and the mines, the gold mines, and different mines they have there and stuff, natural resources. And it's, you know, that's kind of the formula. You know, the wealthier nations will install a dictator of some sort of autocrat, who, you know, strong man or whatever you want to call him, who will control the country brutally, often, and then cut deals with the other countries to sell the resources of the country, you know, at dirt cheap prices in exchange for bribes, you know. And so it's the exogenous forces, the countries that are outside of the country. So, like, they named them, right? They named Russia, Serbia, UAE, Iran, and China were the countries they named. But it's countries that want natural resources. You know, UAE just has a ton of money, right? Because they're just a wealthy nation. I don't know what their deal is. And they're an oil company, right? They're oil, so maybe their sole interest there, or their main interest, is just to keep the oil off the market for their own, so they can sell their oil at a higher price. China probably wants the natural resources, and Russia probably for both those reasons, right? Russia's a big oil or fossil fuel seller, so they would want to keep those fossil fuels off the market. Who else? Serbia. I don't know why Serbia would be in there. And Iran's a big oil country, and they have a, you know, it's relatively strong economy and all that, so maybe they need the natural resources too. But anyway, so it's outside forces that want to that cause all the conflict in there. Now they framed it as the strong man was there, you know, giving away the resources of the country of Sudan to these outside countries, dirt cheap, in exchange for bribes or whatever. And then when he went away, it left a power vacuum. That's what they said. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. If the U.S. isn't involved in that, it's kind of hard for us to. I mean, I'm in the U.S., so I know, but there may be people other parts of the world who listen to this, but I don't know how much the U.S. is involved in that. They didn't mention the U.S. as one of the countries, but so if the U.S. is involved in it, I don't know. We're already not going to vote for the incumbent, right? So I don't know. All right, so that was that story, and okay, that was the we already did that one. So I think we covered a lot of different things here. I don't know if we covered everything. Do we want to know about that guy's book? Probably not. We don't care. If he really cared about what he was doing, he would just make his book available for free. Let's see if he did. Maybe he did. Shouldn't assume, right? Did he put his book online with a Creative Commons license so everybody could see it for free? You wouldn't have to pay money? Let's look it up. Okay, erasing history. All right. Damn. It didn't copy the thing. God damn. Erasing history. Maybe Wikipedia doesn't have it. Go to Amazon. No. Let's go to Amazon. Okay, that looks like the book. Alright, looks like he's just selling it. 20 bucks or whatever. Let's see when it was. Okay, hardcover 24. So it just came out. So that's kind of weird. So he's selling his book. Let's see if they say who the publisher is. He's a publisher. One signal publisher. So I don't know if they make it available for free or not. I can't tell from this if they do. We can go to the publisher's site and see what it says. Books are signals that cut through the noise. Our mission, who we are, books. It's not even. It's not. Their website doesn't work. It doesn't click them. All right. It looks like it's just a publisher. I doubt if they're making their books available for free. You never know, though. I can't see either way. And I can't find out from their website because their website is broken. So. Okay, we aspire to foster a community of progress, forward-thinking people who will feel comfortable bringing their whole selves to their work, knowing they will be fully accepted and supported by their fellow authors and staff. Well, okay, if they're progressive, then they're making their stuff available for free, right? Your privacy, cookies. Yeah, if they're progressive, then they make their stuff available for free on Creative Commons, I would think. All right, let's find that book here. There it is. Okay, they got it for sale here. Price may vary by retailer. Free shipping when you spend $40. Terms apply. No, I think they're just unabridged audio download. No. Whoops. Hardcover. Ebook. Oh, here it is. Get a free ebook by joining our mailing list. Okay, so you get one. Okay, so this is a Simon & Schuster house here. All right, well, So they're not giving it away for free. So my book budget is zero. So let's see what they say here. Erasing history. They're attacking institutions, universities, because universities provide critical inquiry. Okay, I would have, if I was watching this, I would have shut it off at this point, right? Or this point. If I started playing this video and either one of these guys came up there, I would just shut off and I wouldn't hear the rest of the video. So I don't know why they put them in there. All right. Well, so, all right, that's enough news, huh? That's over 2 hours of news. A lot of it was just me sitting here, but 2 hours. All right, let's, I'm going to find some IRL stuff that I've done. My IRL isn't really IRL, I mean, it's virtual IRL. Because we don't have cell service here, so I got to record it ahead of time and then, you know, play them back online. That's how I do my IRL. Sorry, that's how I got to do it. Okay, so it's 9:16. So this is what I did here. I took my camera, this camera here. You know, this is my GoPro camera, and somehow I got the setting mixed up when I was recording. You know, normally I start playing it and recording video, and then walk around with my camera like this and just record the video, and then I play it back online. But unfortunately, I had something set wrong on the camera. So when I told it to record the video and I was walking around like that, it was just snapping pictures every 5 seconds or something, which is not what I wanted. So that's what I got. That's all I have. I just have a bunch of pictures like that. So let's see here. What I'm going to do, let me scan through my pictures here and see if, make sure I don't have anything. Okay, I don't care. I don't care if you see that. All right. So I've got some pictures in there of that I took at the post office, but that's okay. We'll skip over those. I don't want to have to. All right. So now I'm going to, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to take these pictures that I took around my house that are supposed to be a movie, but it's just pictures instead. So I'm going to try to put those up on the screen and talk about them. And that's my IRL. Sorry, that's all I got. That's how it worked out. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. There we go. So there's some donkeys. So what did I do? I went out. So this is me harvesting my garden. My garden is ready for harvest, or some of it. I've been taking a little bit here and there, but now it's really all of it's all getting ripe and ready to harvest and stuff. So and I got a tiny little garden, but I wanted to do an IRL about that. But it's not a video. It's just still pictures. But at least you can see. So I was out there working in the garden, and this donkey came up, and he wanted me to give her. She wanted me to give her some attention. So I had to stop my work in the garden. and give her attention. But I don't think I got any pictures of that. So let me go here. And there she was, and making noises and stuff, trying to get me to go over there. And I went over there for a little bit and gave her some ear scratches, so she was okay. Then I set the camera down on something to record myself cutting kale. This is a bunch of kale I have here. But of course, instead of it wasn't recording video, it was just recording still shots. So I got some still shots of me cutting kale. But yeah, it's not bad though, I guess. So there I am cutting kale out of my tiny little garden that's overgrown with weeds. And here are the tomatoes in the back. And I already picked the tomatoes by the time I started taking these pictures. There I am. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to find the big leaves, right? The leaves that are big enough to cut, and also leaves that will open it up, you know, for other leaves inside, because I planted them kind of close together here. So I try to pick the older leaves that are, you know, are going to turn brown or something if I don't pick them, and also pick leaves that kind of allow more sun to get in down to the smaller leaves inside. So that's basically what I'm doing there. And there's Donkey again making noise. Okay. So these are kind of just random, you know, I'm walking around with this camera, so there's just a bunch of, it just decided to take pictures every so many seconds. All right, so I have a little calendar here, and so I put the kale in here, and as I was harvesting it, putting it in the little colander. And then the tomatoes that I had picked, I put them in there too. And those look a lot nicer than they are, actually. Is this, did I just zoom in too much? Yeah, those look a lot nicer than they are. They were kind of scuffed, but that's okay. They were good enough. I just cut the bad parts off. This little one here is actually a different tomato plant. These big ones are all from this tomato plant that I bought at the store as a plant. This one here just came up as a volunteer, this tomato plant, and it's just a smaller species of tomato. And this is a, believe it or not, this is a green onion. Green onion. You know, use green onions you buy at the store. That's what this is. And they grew really, really big, but they still taste good. It's weird. They're kind of slimy on the inside, like okra. It's kind of weird, but they still taste good. And in this guy here, I snipped. This is an spaghetti squash, and I've got like, I don't know, 8 of them or something, or 8 or 9 or something of these spaghetti squash. Huge. They really grew and took off, and they took over the whole garden. And this one here weighs about 2.5 kilos, so it's pretty big, and a lot of them are that big. But they're small ones. There are a couple of them that had just started growing again now. You know, I mean, we're at the end of the season here, but for some reason it's starting to grow some more. I don't think they'll make it though before it freezes. But it's trying to make more. And there's Donkey again making noises, wanting me to come over and pet him. And this is the spaghetti squash, the leaves of the spaghetti squash plant. And it just got bombarded with this fungus. But fortunately, it was able to make a whole bunch of these spaghetti squashes here before it got this. And I'm hoping that this isn't putting bad things into the plant and into the spaghetti squash itself. Hopefully, it's just, you know, killing the plant and not harming the fruit. Let's see what's getting there. There's Donkey again making noises. Okay, these are pictures at the post office. What was it, last time or time before I did my voting stream where I did an IRL where I walked down to the polling place. But before I went down there, I went to the post office to look at the sample ballot. They don't send out a sample ballot here, and I didn't see this sample ballot online anywhere. I went to the New Hampshire site. I really tried to find out what the hell, who was going to be on the ballot. Could not find it anywhere online, and they don't mail it to you. So I had to go to the post office, where is one of the places they're required by law to post the sample ballot, so I could see who I could vote for. So I took pictures of it and came home and looked all the names up. And this here is a meal I made from all that stuff that I just harvested with. It's this is the spaghetti squash here on the bottom, and then this is the kale, the green stuff, and then tomatoes, and the green onion is sliced up in there for seasoning. And so I got a whole meal out of that stuff, and I still got tons of it more. And if you guys are not familiar with spaghetti squash, let me show you what I've got. One here. This has been sitting in the refrigerator for a day, so it doesn't look very appetizing right now. It's kind of dried out. It's kind of messed up, but it's spaghetti squash. This right here is the pulp. It's very much, if you've ever done a pumpkin or any squash, if you're not familiar with this kind of stuff, that's okay. A lot of people are not. But if you've ever done a pumpkin, it's got, inside it's got the seeds. In fact, I didn't get all the seeds in this one. You can see some seeds in there and this pulp. It's okay to eat the pulp. Probably okay to eat the seeds, but I wouldn't recommend it. But the main thing is that you got this, the meat, or this part here, you hit it with a fork like this, and that's why they call it spaghetti squash. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It looks just like spaghetti. It comes out like this. So you can treat it just like spaghetti. You can put a sauce on it, like a tomato sauce, marinara or whatever, It's very cool. I got a whole bunch of those, so I'm gonna have lots of free food for a while anyway. And squash lasts a long time. I could put those squash down in the basement, and so I'll be able to eat for quite a few months here. And this is what I made out of it. Was this little dish here with a cut up tomato, and it was kind of cool making something entirely from my garden. I don't know if I've ever done that before. I think I've always had just taking stuff from my garden and added to it from stuff that I bought at the store. But this I made entirely from what was in the garden. I also have some black beans that I planted, and they came up. I didn't plant that many, but I just wanted to see if they would grow. I had black beans that I had bought at the store, dry beans, and I planted them, and they came up and made more. Oh, here they is, right here. Let's see if I got that here. Do I have that here anywhere? No, I thought I had that around here. I don't know what I did with it. What the heck did I do with that? Yeah, I put it somewhere. I don't remember where I put it. But I've got black beans that I got from the that just grew up. Not enough to make anything with them, It's not even enough to cook or anything. Maybe 10 pods or something like that, and there's maybe 5 or 10, not even that, in each pod. So not enough beans really to do anything. But I could take those beans and plant them again, and then I'll have even more. Right? So anyway, that was my garden harvest story. That's my human interest story in the news. Except my human interest story was just something I wanted to share with folks. It's not there to crowd out other stories or anything. We just spent 2 hours talking about all the other news, right? So I'm not trying to crowd anything out. I'm just trying to tell you about my garden story, maybe clear a palate from some of that stuff. Just to be something else to talk about. All right, I think that's it. Well, I promised you a science story, didn't I? Let's see here. It says that Hubble finds more black holes than expected in early universe. I think this is phys.org. They allow their stuff to be used. Let me put that up here. No. There we go. All right. Yeah, this is phys.org. Let me make sure that they allow that to help. FAQ. How do I cite your articles? What if an article has no author? Let's see. I would like to reprint a story or reproduce a new story. Is that possible? Academic use. Bloggers. For all other non-commercial uses, such as blogs, websites, we rely on the parameters of fair use. Okay. Academic use. So academic use, they let you do the whole thing. So I'm not sure what I am here. This is by following these steps. Okay, can reproduce. Oh, so they're telling you exactly how much you can do. They're saying, well, there's no rule that says to use 200 words. That's not. But their rule is saying if you're using 200 words of their story, they're not going to bug you about it. So, all right, let's do that, I guess, huh? So, back up. All right. So I just thought this was an interesting story. It says Hubble finds more black holes than expected in an early universe. All right. So I don't know how many is 200 words. So let me put my mug up here and I'll just look at it and I'll try to glean 200 words out of their story. With the help of NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, team of researchers led by somebody, it's somewhere, Stockholm University, have found more black holes than they thought there would be. So they're saying these results can help scientists understand how supermassive black holes are created. Supermassive black holes are the holes at the center of galaxies, right? They think that all galaxies have a supermassive black hole in the middle of them. So we're in the Milky Way galaxy, and there's a huge black hole in the middle of the galaxy. And they're saying that this discovery that they did here will help scientists learn how that happened, I guess. But this is another data point here because they James Webb is finding galaxies and stuff that were formed earlier in the universe than they expected too. You know, because like they originally thought it was like what, about 300,000 years after the beginning. For 300,000 years that there was so much stuff in the universe that it was so hot that everything was all ionized and stuff couldn't happen in terms of making hadrons or whatever, and atoms and molecules and stuff to make solar systems and stars and stuff like that until much later. And they're finding whole galaxies that they thought would take a lot longer to form that were around in the early universe. And this is another data point on that. They're finding black holes that they would not expect to be in the early universe. So something's screwed up with the standard model there that they got to get sorted out, right? It's okay. They're saying supermassive black holes are more than 1 billion solar masses. Right? It takes about 80 solar masses to make a black hole. So it's not, I mean, you know, neutron star is a little bit less than that, but if it gets up to about 80 or so, 80 to 100 or whatever, then it'll make a black hole. Let's see, more masses than we originally thought. Either they formed very massive, or they grew extremely quickly, or the universe is older than you thought, or yeah, or a lot of they don't know. Okay, talk about how important black holes are. About black hole evolution. Faint galaxy. Okay. Oh wait, here's an important thing. Let's see. So they surveyed how many black holes there were. Yeah, the way they did this is they surveyed a certain section of the sky, and they figured out how many black holes existed among all the faint galaxies that they could see in that part that they surveyed in the sky, and just basically just counted them. And you know, they had theoretically they said, okay, there should be this many based on blah 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 or whatever, you know, and they looked, and it's whoops, too many. Let's see, these variations are inside a black hole. Okay, okay. So the way they counted the black holes, they measure variations in the brightness of the galaxy, and apparently those variations are signs of black holes somehow. I don't know how that works. I don't see that they explain it here. Let me see if they explain it. No, they don't explain why that is. That would have been nice to know. How they actually, why the variations in brightness would indicate that there are black holes. And they don't say why, and I don't know why that would be. Okay, black holes. Okay, pristine stars. Okay, so they're saying, it's like the first stars that got started because they were so uniform and pure and all this stuff that they collapsed more quickly or something, or not sure. Right, yeah. So it's virgin stars, stars that, you know, because normally stars are, you know, they form a star out of hydrogen and it makes helium, and in it, if it's big enough, then it makes a nova, and then and during the energy in the compression of the mass in the nova, it makes heavier elements, and those get scattered all over, and then they eventually coalesce again and come together, and then you have a star that's not just hydrogen, it's hydrogen and helium. It's got heavier stuff in it too, mixed in with it, and then those stars, you know, go through their life cycle and blow up, blah blah blah. So they're talking about black holes that were formed from these virgin stars, these first stars that were formed in the universe from just hydrogen. So that's kind of cool. Right, it's just yes. So it's some black holes, they say, are formed by those first stars, but they have to be massive. They have to be really, really large for that, right? Because hydrogen and helium are not very heavy elements. So yeah, you need a lot of that to make a black hole out of it. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, then they say there are other alternatives. That was one, I guess. So they're not really sure at this. They're just throwing stuff out there. So that was one. That's one idea. The other. So here's another idea. They say that that they're formed from just gas clouds or mergers of stuff. Yeah, they don't know. They don't know. They're just throwing out ideas. It looks like. So that's kind of interesting. Black holes, yeah. It's an important part of the puzzle of galaxy evolution. Yeah. Okay. So that was that story. New method improves understanding of light wave propagation. Antitropic. Anisotropic? I don't know what that word means. Anisotropic. Let's look that up. Right. Anisotropic materials. Oh, I didn't show you what that was here. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Yeah, this story here. It says, new method improves understanding of light wave propagation in anisotropic materials. So I don't know what the word anisotropic means, so I wanted to look that up. So I went over here, type in anisotropic, anisotropy. No, anisotropy. Didn't have that. Alright, let me see what that gets me. Okay. So, I went to this, I typed in anisotropic, and it said, no, we don't want to show you that, we're going to show you this word. It's just another form of the word. And it says anisotropy. Let me see if I'm pronouncing it right. Let's see. Anisotropic. Anisotropy. Anisotropic. An anisotropic object or pattern has properties that differ according to direction of measurement. This is Wikipedia, by the way. I'm giving them credit. Their stuff is available through Creative Commons. So, anisotropic object or pattern has properties that differ according to direction of measurement. Oh, okay. For example, miniatures exhibit a different physical or mechanical properties when measured along different axes. For example, absorbance, refractive index, conductivity, tensile strength. Interesting. Okay. So, okay, so the cosmic microwave background radiation has tiny little differences in it, which are anisotropic, I guess. Chemistry, world, physics. Hey, look at that. There's my little... Remember we did that stream with the plasma globe? You can look it up. Look up... I think the thumbnail. You look on YouTube on all my VODs. You'll see I did a stream about that. Physics. All right. Well, methods improve understanding of light wave propagation. Okay, so this is materials in which light travels differently in different directions or different axes through the material. Okay, I don't care. All right, I don't know why this is in a physics thing. I actually looked this up, this article. I saw this earlier. It's more of a sociology thing, so I don't know why that's in phys.org. All right, well, there's a bunch of stuff in there, so there's stories, but I don't think there's anything. Step towards solar fuels, durable artificial photosynthesis setup, chains 2 carbons together. A wobble from Mars could be a sign of dark matter, study finds. Oh, come on. I thought they figured out that dark matter wasn't really a thing. They figured out another way. Or they haven't figured that out yet. They will. I don't think dark matter is a thing. Maybe it is. Task planning framework supports human-robot collaborative furniture assembly. Okay. Cocaine trade. Why is that in this thing? This is weird. Oh, there's some bare feet. Am I going to get banned on Twitch here? COVID-19 rates oscillate every 6 months in the U.S. Well, it's not exactly. All right, well, they got all kinds of stuff in here, and I don't know what that... I thought that was just physics stuff. But they got all kinds of articles in there. But they're not... their stuff isn't exactly free. They allow fair use. So we can talk about them, about their articles, but we can't actually reproduce them in whole. We can't read the whole thing. All right, well, that's enough. I've been out here for too long anyway. I've been out here for almost 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. So I guess we'll call it quits here. All right, anything else we got to do? I don't think there's anything else that I got to talk about here. Yeah, this is just supposed to be a news stream. But I also talked about my garden as a human interest story, and that's my news stream. Started at 6:30. We're over at 9:15. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. All right, everybody. I'm gonna take off. So, everybody, take care. Make sure you wear your mask. Wear an N95 mask because there's a lot of virus out there right now. It's on its way up, especially if you're going to TwitchCon or something like that. Wear your mask now so you don't get COVID yourself and bring it to TwitchCon, which would be horrible, right? You could hurt a lot of people that way. And wear it so you don't get so sick that you can't go to TwitchCon. You know, take care of yourself before you go. And wear it when you're there so the assholes who didn't wear their mask you don't catch the COVID from them, right? So, all right, everybody. Take care. Bye.